I've seen you guys twice this season, being in the Bay. I've seen you guys. The first time was, in January, and obviously a couple weeks ago when I saw you, Mark. It seems like you guys are in this transitional phase right now. You guys traded Porzingis. You guys got, you made a coaching change from Rick Carlisle to Jason Kidd. When did you realize that you needed to maybe not go drastically change, but make sure you pivot? Because you guys have pivoted over the last few years, how your team is in order to win a title. What was the origin of this transitional period in your eyes?
Well, first, all teams go through life cycles because Father Time's undefeated, right? So As guys age, at some point you're going to have to rebuild or rejuvenate at some level. And so, we wanted to be loyal to Dirk and let him play it out, knowing, as his last couple of years, we'd go through a rebuilding process, which got us Luka. And then when Rick left, Carlisle left, to go to the Pacers, it was like, okay, that's the perfect time to just say, you know what, let's just redo everything top to bottom. Brought in Nico, and with Nico's help and Dirk's help and Finn's help and Don Kalkstein's help, brought in Keith Grant, brought in Jay Kidd. And even with Jay Kidd, right, when you're building a team, you kind of build knowing what your coach is all about. And so we were building with Rick in mind. And then when Jay Kidd came in, there was an evolutionary process where we have to see how players fit to Jay Kidd's model, right? Because Jay Kidd and Rick are completely different coaches. And so, over the course of this season, we've kind of evolved and recognized that, okay, here are some guys that are a great fit with Jay Kidd and a great fit with Luka and Jay Kidd's system. And that, some guys, we need things more than what we're getting from them. And so that's what led to the KP trade. And I think KP is going to be amazing in DC. And you saw that last night. He just crushed it. And then, Spence and Davis have been great for us.
Yeah, it's when I think about I want to talk about the coaching change for a second, because I think that if I can compare it to anything, when I've seen your history, if you make a decision on a coach and you're going to do it, it doesn't matter what time a year it is. Especially one thing that always comes to mind is Don Nelson and Avery Johnson. When do you know that it's time to make a change, and why? If it has to be made a change, why does it have to be made a change so instant? Because it seemed very like it was going to, from an outside perspective, that it was a quick thing that's like, oh man, this is a pretty big shift organizationally.
Yeah, I mean, when Nelly left, he just quit. It was the middle of the season, and so it was like, okay, what got me turned on to Avery was we were playing in 2003. We were playing Portland in the conference finals. Was it? I forget. Maybe it was. I forget which round it was. No, it was the first round, and we went up 3-0. No one's ever lost 3-0, right? Yeah. And they came back and tied us 3-3. That was a team with Sabonis and Rashid and Zach. And it was scary, right? Because we were playing at home, Game 7. And I remember Avery making a speech at halftime, our will, our way. And, and when Nelly had kind of taken little sabbaticals during the season, Avery would take over. And so it was easy to pick Avery. And then when it was time to move on from Avy, you could just get the sense from players that, they had kind of tuned him out. And that's, that just happens. Coaches run their course at various times. Avery was great for us. I mean, we won 65 games, went to the finals. And then we thought we needed somebody with, a little bit more playoff experience. And that's when we went to Rick. And so I've only had Nelly, who was here when I got here. Avery was my choice. Rick was my choice. And now Jay Kidd.
So I was there for what Mark's talking about. I was there in that Portland series. This series, the young lady had forgotten the words to the anthem.
Words, yeah. That's when Mo came in and started singing. Yeah.
It was brutal. But you knew Avery, was going to coach. And Avery ran a practice. Don Nelson was I don't know where he was that day, but Avery ran a practice. We watched film before practice, and there was a jump shot that I did not shoot. At the time, Logan, you got to understand, man. Like, I just came back from Spain. We got all these great scores, and I know what my job is. My job is to defend. But I was a little reluctant to shoot. And so Avery busted my ass in film session about not shooting this ball. So I thought we were done. But then he went out and ran practice. And so we were running skeleton. We were going up and down twice. And running a play. And he said, now every time we run this play, I want the ball to get swung to Raja Bell, and he's going to shoot that 15-foot jump shot. And he made me shoot a 15-foot jump shot every time down the damn court.
That sounds so much like Avery. You have a future doing impressions, Roger.
It was great. It was great. The general was great, man. And here's my other story. I'm gonna tell a story, and I'm gonna let you get back to it.
Sure, no, keep on going. I love your stories. I didn't get to hear
you remember Nelly's? Were they Christmas parties, or maybe they were? Yeah. He used to have these legendary like parties at his house. I had never been, but everybody was like, "Hey, you and Cindy got to come to this." So we rolled out. It was packed. I think there were valets and stuff. And I'm walking around the house thinking like, I should probably say hello to the host, right? Meanwhile, I'm never going to get to him because there are thousands, there are like people everywhere. And so I find my way to this room. And when I walk in, there's a table laid out where people are playing blackjack. Yeah. And there's people all accumulated watching the blackjack game. And then it dawns on me who's playing blackjack. It's like Willie Nelson, Don Nelson, and like 3 other people that would be megastars. I don't really know who they were. And Nelly's got his dog in his lap, like cuddled up with his belly up. And he's pulling cards out of a chute, like passing around the table while people just stand there and cheer. It was the wildest shit I've ever seen.
That's Nelly. Nelly did a lot of wild shit.
I want to talk about J Kidd. And Cubes, was it a natural progression? Like you guys have like pace of play down, points scored down. And this is counter kind of intuitive to what's going on in the NBA now, where everyone's trying to pick the pace up and get the scoring up to in the 120s every game. But you guys have kind of taken a step, or at least a fractional step in the opposite direction with that. But the byproduct is your defensive rating has really taken a leap, right? And so was this something that organically happened? Is it his coaching style? Was this a conversation about like us zigging when everyone's zagging?
He came in and said that's what he's going to do, right? And, the Mavericks historically had never been known for their defense. And, I talked to coaches over the years and looking at our personnel, they're like, we just don't have guys who can defend. And J Kidd was like, no, team, it's not about one-on-one defending anymore. It's about team defense, right? Mm-hmm. And keeping it simple so guys know how to make reads. And so it took us some time because you don't just walk in day one. Particularly, one of the other things that's changed is training camp and preseason has gotten shortened dramatically. Right. I mean, 2-a-days, you guys used to have 2-a-days almost every day, right? Guys used to come in to camp to get in shape. Yeah, for weeks. Yeah. Now, if you have 3 2-a-days the entire preseason, that's a lot. And you have 4 preseason games or something. And so, it's just changed. And so it takes time to build the continuity and understanding of the system. And, but yes, to answer your question, J Kidd came in saying, okay, we're going to be a good defensive team. And if you look at his history, when he went to Milwaukee, they went from like number 29 to number 2 or 3 defensively. He helped the Lakers last year when he was at the Nets before Milwaukee, they were good defensively. Right. And so, that was one of his calling cards, and that was important to us. But, to be a good defensive team, the underpinning that is the coach has to be a good communicator, and he's got to be able to get guys to buy in. And that really was a skill set that was interesting to me and most attractive to me. And like we said earlier, it doesn't happen overnight. It takes time for guys to understand their roles, understand the system, buy in, and realize that it benefits everybody. And when you start getting to the point where you trust each other, you start playing for each other, and that's when you become a good defensive team.